Hey everybody, this is Harvey Sunny Wasserman back with the 200 and what is it, 57 Green Grassroots Emergency Electric Protection Coalition Zoom call. We have a full agenda as always. We will not be meeting next week. It's Memorial Day, but this week we are action-packed, believe me, as is the world. We're going to be going first to Ukraine with the great Howie Hawkins and more, and then we're going to be joined by a fantastic U.S. congressperson coming back for the second time, RO KHANNA of California. Going to talk about Diablo Canyon, among many, many, many other things. And he's going to be introduced by the great ALAN MINSKY, who we're really, really honored to have with us. We're going to be talking, as usual, a bit about nuclear power. And we are also going to be joined by one of the great resources, a true veteran of the golden days of CBS, Columbia Broadcast System, which has just lost its heart, brains, and soul as Stephen Colbert makes his exit. David Saltman we're going to have a long discussion about the state of the American media and what the billionaires have done to it. We're going to talk about solar power in Ohio, the potential backfiring of gerrymandering, and I'm going to tell you exactly where the word gerrymander comes from if you don't already know. We're going to talk about resistance to data centers and the fact, which I just read just prior to going online here, that 100,000 families have been broken apart by ICE in Donald Trump's assault, allegedly on the immigrant community, but really it's on all of us. And for those of you who follow TV soap operas, I am going to talk a little bit towards the end about Outlander. My wife and I have watched every one of them, and my heart was really broken this past week. So, and I think there's very, and so seldom in American society do we see people who actually have integrity and a heart, and these two characters at Outlander really did. So those of you who want to stick around and talk soap opera, we'll do it at the end of the second hour. But meanwhile, we want to get rolling here. We're anticipating the arrival of Congressman RO KHANNA, and in the meantime, my buddy Howie Hawkins in Syracuse, New York, former Green Party candidate for president, is going to give us the latest on Ukraine. Howie, how we doing? And how we doing in making Ukraine 100% renewable so that Putin can no longer send drones at their atomic reactors?
Well, Putin has forced them to go renewable because centralized thermal plants are easy targets for missiles and drones, whereas distributed energy from wind and solar and microgrids make it much harder for the Russians to undermine their energy system. So they are at breakneck pace building a renewable energy system. And they had a goal, but they've had to get to 100% by 2050. Now they're trying to do it by 2030, given the circumstances. Russia just made the largest airstrikes of the whole war on March 13th and 14th. 1,567 drones, 56 ballistic and cruise missiles, hitting largely civilian residences. One apartment building in Kyiv was hit, 24 people were killed, and about 100 were injured. Ukraine, on the other hand, is being very effective striking the energy infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, depots that store oil, oil refineries, and ports that export oil. And, the Ukrainians are targeting military or military adjacent targets. The Russians are targeting civilians as well as military assets, hundreds of miles from the front. And it's a real difference between the two sides. So what's been happening on the front is Russia started a spring offensive and it stalled. And in fact, Ukraine is actually gaining ground. So a lot of analysts are now saying Ukraine has the initiative. It's not like they're going to suddenly push the Russians out of Ukraine, but the Russians are having a hard time. And in their nuclear concerns, last week, the International Atomic Energy Agency warned about a major increase in drone activity near Ukraine's nuclear power plants. And on that night of May 13th, 14th, they identified 160 drones near Ukrainian nuclear power plants. And the other thing that just came up is we're just learning, CNN did a big report, that a Russian cargo ship sank and is suspected of having carried 2 nuclear submarine reactors and was headed for North Korea. Now, this happened in December 24. It's just coming to light. Apparently, it was hit by a torpedo or a mine. The cargo ship was accompanied by 2 Russian military ships. So Spain rushed in. It was 60 miles off the Spanish coast. They rushed in to rescue the crew, and they did rescue them and were able to interrogate them for a little bit, but then the Russians demanded them back. And then the Russians wouldn't let the Spanish, investigate the wreckage below. The U.S. has had a couple of those, they call them nuclear sniffers, looking for radiation, that flew over the site, didn't detect any radiation. So it's kind of a mystery, and the mystery's sitting on the bottom of the sea. The Spanish think the Russians, there were 4 explosions heard while the Russian military ships were over the site where the boat sank, and they heard 4 explosions. So maybe they were trying to destroy what was on the bottom. So
Wow.
that's the news I've got.
Well, the news about the drones at the nuclear site.
One more piece of news. And this last week, there's a Ukraine Support Act that has got nowhere in Congress because Johnson's the speaker, but they just got a discharge petition. They got a couple of Republicans to sign it. So it's going to be voted on in June. And it provides about $1.3 billion in military aid, $8 billion in loans, and new sanctions on Russian oil. The problem is it may pass the House, but it have trouble in the Senate, and Trump certainly won't sign it. But the fact that they got a discharge petition on this question is good.
And my understanding is that RO KHANNA, who will be joining us soon, has signed the discharge petition. Is that true?
That's true.
So one thing that it mystifies me, well, it doesn't really, but here we have all this drone activity around nuclear plants in Ukraine, and apparently an outbuilding at a nuclear plant in the UAE has been hit by a drone. And I checked with some experts over the weekend. The small modular reactors that are being hyped like crazy have no regulations for safety. So the question here, we have Trump screaming and yelling about Iran getting a nuclear weapon. We have 94 pre-deployed atomic reactors operating in the United States. There are 400 worldwide. It would take precisely 1 drone to turn any one of them into a de facto atomic bomb. Howie, what is the feeling in Ukraine? Are they rushing to shut these reactors as best they can? And we have more than 70 people listening to you now.
They're not shutting down the reactors because they now provide 60% of Ukraine's power. So it's just not feasible. There was a plan to build 2 more reactors, and that apparently has been scuttled.
Thank God.
They realize it takes too long, and they're too expensive, and they're targets for the Russians. So what they're trying to do is build up their renewables, and then they can talk about how to phase out the nukes.
Well, I understand that Ukraine has tremendous wind resources. Has there been any targeting by the Russians of solar panels or windmills in Ukraine as part of this war?
Yeah, there has, but it takes a lot more bombs to wipe out renewables than it does a centralized thermal power plant. And they have also stolen solar panels in occupied Ukraine and brought them back to Russia.
How do they do? How do they do that?
They just take them off their stands and put them on trucks or trains and ship them back to Russia.
Oh my God!
They've been looting the occupied territories of everything.
I keep hoping that somebody in this world will start sending boatloads of solar panels to Cuba. Because, we're now seeing that Cuba is being blacked out of all fossil fuel resources. But the one good thing that Elon Musk has ever done that I think of is when Puerto Rico was hit by one of its many hurricanes. He sent solar panels and repowered one of the hospitals in San Juan. Now, if somebody would think to do that again to Puerto Rico, or God help us to Cuba, I'm wondering, would the American blockade stop solar panels from coming into Cuba? That's an interesting question, but they could, overnight basically repower Cuba if someone would send them the solar panels.
Well, what I know about that is they've got a lot of Chinese panels. I don't know if they were given or sold or loaned. Don't know the financial arrangement. Yeah, somebody just put in the chat. People are already sending it. Yeah, China sent a lot of them, but I don't know how much of the power gap they filled at this point.
Okay, Mila's raising her hand. I think she knows. Go ahead, Mila.
Yeah, with the help of China, Cuba has doubled its solar output in the last year, but it's still relatively minor. And they have also increased their ambition in order to solarize more. They expect within 10 years, with the help of China, to have most of their, or a great portion of their electricity coming from solar panels. But recently there was a flotilla, an international flotilla, that did deliver quite a few solar panels. So the international community, as along with China, is helping Cuba to put solar as a major component of their energy mix.
Well, I wish it would be 10 days instead of 10 years. I mean, it doesn't take that long to install solar. Alan Minsky, did you have something to say about this? Oh, wait, you're muted.
Tom Johnson had his
Hi
hand
there.
up.
Yeah, no, I didn't necessarily. Why did you ask? I mean, of
Oh,
course,
because
I
you
have a
looked
ton
like
of.
you had something. Tom Johnson, go ahead.
No.
Sorry, Alan. We'll get back to you. Tom Johnson. Are you unmuted, Tom? Go ahead.
It's not possible.
Tom Johnson.
Yeah, we can hear you, Tom. Please go ahead.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm in Cambridge, Mass. I'm a Quaker, a lifelong nonviolent pacifist, but I definitely support Ukraine in its war, in its defense against Russia. A couple of things very quickly, less than a minute. Please contact your senators and representatives to support aid to Ukraine. The current bill that's got the discharge petition. Second is please consider donating humanitarian aid to any NGO that's supporting Ukraine. There's a great need for it, and it will continue for years and years in the future. And the last thing I would say is please listen to and talk to Ukrainians. You'll understand everything better, and it will be a transformative experience. And that's all I wanted to say. But thank you all for all this good work. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Tom. Tom Johnson was the name of the first populist mayor of Cleveland, and he was responsible for the Community Light system in Cleveland. So if that's your great grandfather,
I'm not related, but I'm happy to bask in the reflected glory.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
He was the original Dennis Kucinich, actually. Tom Johnson was. Howie Hawkins, as our resident stand-in Ukrainian, I have had countless discussions with people who consider themselves progressive, who have told me that there is no way that Ukraine can win this war. And I actually had a guy I really love offer me 100-to-1 odds that Ukraine would not be able to protect themselves. Do you want to get a piece of that action?
Yeah, I would take that bet. Look, Russia has been attacking Ukraine longer than it took the Soviet Union to push back Hitler's Nazi army to Berlin. And they've been stalled for 3 years. It's a stalemate at worst. And now, as I was describing earlier, Ukraine seems to have the initiative. And if you read what's going on in Russia, they got serious economic problems. There's a case of soldiers shooting each other in a food warehouse, back from the front lines over who would get the rations because there's not enough food going to the Russian front lines. There's a lot of discontent there. not a lot of motivation. So yeah, Russia's not winning, and it's been a disaster for Russia in terms of its economy. And I think, popular opinion can't express itself well in Russia, but there's growing evidence that there's a lot of discontent with this war.
Myla?
Can I just say that Chris Sampson, who is in Ukraine, has just joined us. So please make him a co-host.
Okay. Well, as we're waiting for RO KHANNA, we can get the word straight from Ukraine. I see all these videos on the internet about and they always show Ukrainian drones blowing up Russian oil facilities. And my question is, how credible is the feedback we're getting that's showing allegedly that the Ukrainians are totally technologically superior somehow to the Russians, even though Russia is, what, 4 times as big as Ukraine. We have 83 people with us, by the way. Chris, you're going to speak to us in English, but you're in Kyiv. So tell us what the feeling is in Kyiv.
Я розмовляю українською мовою також.
Is that Yiddish?
I can speak Ukrainian language to you as well if you want.
No, go ahead with
yeah,
English.
I'm in Kiev. We actually just had an air raid alert for more drones. And for your viewers, since we last talked, the 24 people who were killed in my neighborhood and 44 displaced was after 1,567 drones were flown across this country, followed by 56 missiles. So the air campaign is in full-blown mode in the Russian side. But to your point about the tech and how the tech advantage is in the favor of Ukrainians, I've been in person for 4 years documenting not simply the war, but watching the advancement from the very simple cross-level FPVs most people may see in mass production, but also the development itself along the need basis, the reality that you have UGVs helping to bring equipment in and out, now people in and out, and that's been doing its own development. You have like only 1 hour ago, someone asked me about the use of Palantir related to AI mixed with targeting, mixed with the Peter Thiel reality plus the need here. And
well, whose side?
Yeah.
Whose side is Palantir on?
Well, Palantir's on the side of Palantir in my book. And many years of covering who they are in these other companies. But in the case of my understanding of Fedorov, and I've if you showed up a photo of me and asked, do you know Chris Sampson, he would tell you he's met me at the tech forums that happen here and watched the development. My experience, because of the like you said, the oversized army they're fighting against, resources against the incoming aggressor are really, really reserved, meaning including targeting. Don't waste time on targets that are just Pyrrhic. For instance, a parade. And so when you think of what Palantir's ambitions are versus what Ukrainian needs are, they're different worlds except for where they collide, right there in the middle. That the technology to help get to something that through electronic warfare is not getting there, because it keeps developing also and in layers, then AI is a solution, and to avoid it over basically virtue splaining your way through the rest of it. It doesn't feel that way when death is reality here. It's good when there's not death. It's a great, important conversation. So I understand the Ukrainian position. I also hear the groans here of a certain class that goes, wait, it's Palantir though. Most of that's in the West. It's not going to be said that much here if it saves lives.
Listen, we are joined by Congressman RO KHANNA. Mike, do you want to turn it over to Alan very quickly to introduce the congressman? And Congressman RO KHANNA, we are actually talking directly to 2 representatives of the Ukrainian cause who want to thank you for helping with the discharge petition. But let's give this to Alan.
Amen. Дякуємо. On behalf of Kiev and everyone I know, дякуємо.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the dialogue on Ukraine. And great to have Howie Hawkins here too. I'd love to talk to Howie about what's going on in UK politics right now with the Green Party and the Andy Burnham now looks like he's going to challenge Keir Starmer. It's going to be very interesting. And a lot of that debate within the UK in the direction of the Labour Party and the possibility of having a politics that are a government that isn't strictly neoliberal is really the pressing issue. And I highlight that because I believe that RO KHANNA, in all the work that I've done in Congress, in and around Congress, in the American political system, certainly since I've been the executive director of Progressive Democrats of America, but also going back before when I was covering American politics for Pacifica Radio, both nationally and at KPFK in Los Angeles. We obviously need, the society desperately needs to move to another economic social contract. And I think there is no politician better positioned to be in a leadership role in our society, guiding us out of neoliberalism into a much more equitable, with better wealth distribution, also very much more responsible in terms of the climate and in terms of just broadly social justice. But the way that economics absolutely overdetermines the lives of most Americans, their hour by hour, minute by minute lives. Of course, it is the most important issue in every election, pretty much. Occasionally, maybe there's a big war going on and that dominates. But RO KHANNA really, really gets it. And we at PDA are thrilled to work as often as we do with Representative KHANNA. And let me just say this then. 200 years after the Declaration of Independence was signed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, plus 70 days, a great American was born, Rojit Khanna in Philadelphia. So born on the bicentennial. And, RO KHANNA went on to get this, folks, get an economics degree from the University of Chicago.
Oh, my God.
But he also had an incredible grandfather who I've learned a little bit more about. And Ro does often mention him as somebody who was arrested and was in jail with Gandhi. And he was certainly a freedom fighter for the Indian people against colonialism. But look him up, folks, and you can get the links of Wikipedia's Ro's page on Wikipedia. This guy was great. And I think Ro's deep understanding of the necessity in the modern world of an equitable economics. There was the countervailing force of this brilliant intellectual politician in India versus the Milton Friedman-led, inspired economics department in Chicago. And Ro was able to navigate that. Which you get an understanding about the way contemporary capitalism works if you go to University of Chicago to get an economics degree. But the commitment to social justice that he certainly inherited from his grandfather and that he lives with every day makes RO KHANNA just an absolutely unique and brilliant presence on the American scene. Now that's my introduction to Ro. You're here at this one of these wings of PDA here with the GREEP crowd here. But hello? I do have a question for you, Ro, and then I'm going to go away and just listen, and the rest of the team's going to take over.
Start your camera, Ro. I don't know if you need to.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. And I want to ask
Ro, the last time you were with us, you were on a train. That was fun. So if you can be on the camera this time, be great.
Well, I'm going to go away, but I do want to maybe ask Ro to start before maybe the remarks that he was going to introduce to the group here today, to talk briefly about his partner in this contemporary Congress, Thomas Massie, and the very, very difficult election that he has tomorrow in Kentucky that now the press is just openly stating now is the most expensive primary race in the history of the U.S. House of Representatives. So, yeah, thank you, Ro. Welcome.
Thank you, Alan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Ro. It's great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, look, I appreciate your work. You're having me, Alan. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Massie is in a brawl. He's had $30 million spent against him.
Jeez.
And it's largely from the pro-Israel groups and from the Trump groups. They don't like what he did on Epstein. They don't like that he has called what happened in Gaza a genocide. And it's neck and neck in the polls. It's literally 1 or 2 points. So Massie is up 30 points with voters under 45, and he's down 30 points with voters over 55. It's a literal generational split. But we need to continue to build a broad coalition around stopping these foreign wars. I gave the commencement speech at Suffolk University on Sunday, and the biggest applause line that I had was that we need to stop providing aid to foreign governments that violate human rights. The second biggest applause line was that we need to tax the billionaires. And the third biggest applause line was that we need to expand the Supreme Court from 9 to 13 justices to uphold voting rights and not allow the fastest rollback of black political power since Rutherford Hayes ended Reconstruction in 1877. So we, the young generation, are crying out for a politics of economic justice that understands the lopsided and unfair nature of the economy. They're crying out for a policy that eschews militarism, that cuts the Pentagon budget, that stops these wars in Iran, that doesn't commit us to more foreign entanglements. They're crying out for a politics of racial justice that reaffirms the Voting Rights Act, that reaffirms our role as a multiracial democracy and doesn't stand passively as we see the rollbacks of women's rights and political rights of the Black community and the assault on the LGBTQ community.
Ro, are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Can you
Okay,
hear
is
me?
there anything more? I've got Dorothy Reich.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You dropped out, but we can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you now. So, quickly, Ro, go ahead, and then I want to give Dorothy Reich a minute, and also introduce a topic to you real quick. Ro KHANNA, are you there? Ro KHANNA? He seems to. Can we hear him?
Well, it's the wonders of technology. He's unmuted. He's still on the line, but
Ro,
he might have
Ro
dropped off a
KHANNA,
little
can we
bit.
hear you? We know there have been blackouts with PG&E in the California area. We're supposed to have Robert Freeling with us, and he's blacked out. I hope they haven't hit Representative KHANNA also.
He dropped off, so maybe he ran into like a dead spot. But we'll watch for him, and as soon as he jumps back on, we'll get him right back on.
Okay.
I hate to interrupt, but if it helps, I know some Ukrainians here can fix that for you a lot faster.
Ro KHANNA, I think Ro's back. Ro KHANNA, are you back?
Sir. Yes, I am.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
Ro, I wanted to. We have Dorothy Reich with us, who's a powerhouse in the Topanga area. I very quickly go ahead, Dorothy, and then Ro, I want to talk to you very quickly, and then we're going to open up to other folks. Go ahead, Dorothy
Ro.
Reich, please.
Hi, Ro. How you doing?
Ro, are you there?
He
Ro
is
KHANNA?
muted. He's muted. We're going to try to get him unmuted.
Can you
Just
hear
go
me?
ahead, Dorothy.
Yes,
Can you hear
we
me?
can. Yeah, we can hear you, Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, Ro. How are you?
Hi, Dorothy.
Thanks for everything that you're doing. We're so appreciative down here in Southern California. I can't tell
Thank
you.
you.
So I had an idea. It's always with the Republicans. They accuse us of what they're doing. They accuse us of stealing elections, but they've been stealing elections since 2000, since Al Gore.
At least.
And we have a friend, a guy named Greg Palast. He has the goods on this, all of it. But he's unwilling to meet with Democrats because he has some 501c3 or something. That's how he makes his living. However, if you were to subpoena him, then he would have to appear, and it wouldn't affect his 501c3 because he'd be under court order to be there. And he could bring you so much information. I can't tell you. From when they took Black voters who were disenfranchised in Texas and brought those names to Florida in 2000 and compared those names to Florida voters, because Black and Hispanic people have very similar names, and took voters off the roll in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can we?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I think that
Oh, Jesus.
send the name of if you send the name of the person to Alan and me, we'll look into the subpoena.
Yes.
Yes,
Dorothy's. Go ahead.
if someone has his personal phone number, I don't, but I think Harvey.
Yeah, I do.
Well, we
Greg
can
is
track
my
it down.
neighbor.
Just send me the details.
We will get Greg Palast too. There's someone else also. Congressman, we need a 20-minute meeting with you and your staff on the economics of the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant. We are now showing, without a doubt, that keeping Diablo Canyon open every year costs ratepayers in California, including those in your district, at least $1 billion a year.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. Preeti will follow up with you on that. And
we need to, because we can make the case on safety, on earthquakes, all the other stuff, but the bottom line is the number one reason rates are so high in California, and I pay in the DWP in LA, but even at that, I'm charged for Diablo Canyon. Rates are through the roof in California because of the Diablo Canyon nuclear plant. And if we can get 20 minutes with you and your staff, we can make that case permanently, and you'll understand it and lead the charge and get those 2 reactors shut so rates can go down in California.
Happy to have Preeti follow up with that.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you. I wanted to talk to you have Chris Sampson give you a quick hello from Kyiv, and then we'll go to if there's any more that you want to say, you're welcome to do so. We have 91 people with us. Go ahead, Chris Sampson. In English, please.
Of course, thank you. Actually, some of it will be in Ukrainian because I want to say simply to RO KHANNA on behalf of a lot of people who really know how the aid voting works in Congress. Thank you very much, or as we say here, Diakoimo. It's very important that the discharge petition got passed, and also that you represent one of those voices that reach across the aisle to see things get accomplished because lives count on it. So thank you so much. That's the main
Thank
message.
you. Appreciate that.
Okay, very good. Ro, at any time you want to jump in, this is the second time you're with us. We're really honored to have you always. Hartzell Gray, very quickly.
Congressman KHANNA, it's so good to hear from you. Thank you again so much for your endorsement for our congressional campaign. It means the most to us, and I hope I'm not derailing, but I'm curious. I want to know, especially following up about what's happening tomorrow with Representative Massey. You know, you talk a lot about a fighter. We need someone in the supposed opposition party to be a fighter. Right now, I don't think we're getting that, which is why I'm so happy that we have your leadership. What does that look like? What does that mean? I'd like to consider myself a fighter, but what does that mean? How do you need fighters with you? And I guess I have a follow-up to that. And can you explain to us how important it is to support Grassroots campaign? Especially, I think they probably lead into one question the other, but Congressman, your thoughts?
Being a fighter means having courage to take on the powers that be. You know, when Massey and I took on the Epstein class, we knew we'd have a lot of billionaires in super PAC against us, and we do. But we thought justice was more important. When I said I'm going to be for a billionaire tax, I have a primary against me because of that. When I said no to aid to Israel and voted against it in the Biden administration, AIPAC went after me. So
same.
You know, the fight, I think, is to stand up against the interests and the powerful interests, and then to be effective. With Trump, it's not just enough to speak out, but what can you do in building a coalition that actually pushes back on him? And we did that with the Epstein files.
Well,
Right.
Congressman, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm going to get in there with you. We're gonna tear this thing up.
Yes, good luck to
Awesome.
you. So we are nonpartisan, but we can wish you a good luck in your campaign. And RO KHANNA, we couldn't be more supportive of the progressive stands that you take. Howie Hawkins, did you want to say something, please?
Yeah, Congressman KHANNA, I want to thank you for being a co-sponsor of the Fair Representation Act. It seems now, after the Louisiana versus Calais decision that ends majority-minority districting, that proportional representation is really needed now. And probably it was a better solution than majority-minority districting, so that minorities got their proportional share of representation and power. So my question is, where are the rest of the progressives on this bill? It only has 7 co-sponsors. And is there any
Which one is this? Which bill is this?
The Fair Representation Act, HR.
Oh, the one I did with Don Beyer?
Yes. And
We'll push for it. I mean, right now, of course, the most immediate thing is the Voting Rights Act to restore the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, but we'll look at this too.
Oh, there you are. Oh, we see you're not on a train this time. Howie
Yeah.
Hawkins is a great, great activist for many, many years. It's a privilege to have him on. I had a question. Howie, are you done? You want more?
Oh, that was my question. Just
Well,
seems
I
now's the
appreciate
time
it.
to strike the iron on proportional representation.
Totally agree. I sponsored that bill with Dunbar years ago, and I think it's multi-candidate districts so that if you're in a district where you're 40%, you get a member, and this way, if there's a black minority, they can still get someone elected. But we need to do that while strengthening the Voting Rights Act in sections 2 and section 5.
Absolutely. I had a question on a constant. Citizens United has been killing us, along with the other anti controls on spending. What do you think would be the chances of getting a constitutional amendment to repeal Citizens United?
Well, we need to do a constitutional amendment. We need to call constitutional conventions in the states. If the Congress won't do 2/3, we need to go to the states and do constitutional conventions in the states to have a national conversation about this, and then have the 3/4 of the states or 2/3 of the states do it to put it on the ballot.
Well, Paul Newman is pointing out that Hawaii and Montana are finding ways around Citizens United. What about California?
Yeah, we should do it too in California. We've got to get the money out. But, there's a lot of big money in California, unfortunately. But I'm all for getting the money out.
Excellent. Heidi Vertauer and then Steve Caruso, real quick, please. Hawaii did it, according to Dr. Nancy Naparko.
And
So
Vermont,
maybe
Maine did it too. Maine had an initiative.
So is there a template that we can spread to get Citizens United out?
But those are for state elections, as I understand it. What we needed is for federal elections.
Well, that'll take a constitutional amendment, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll sign it on from here. Heidi, Steve Caruso, Donald, go ahead, please. And Congressman, thank you for staying with us. Heidi, very quickly, keep your questions very succinct.
Yes. I talked to you on the progressive PDA and also on the
Okay.
Anyway, but my question is about how the difference between the new Green New Deal, what is the difference between the Green New Deal and the Green New Deal for health that you are sponsoring with Representative Ed Markey, and how
Yes.
can we get that? How can we help support you to get that founded?
Well, the Green New Deal of Health is just one part of the broader Green New Deal, and it says that we need to provide communities with resources for climate resilience in their hospitals, in their community centers, for their nurses, for their doctors, that there are so many climate catastrophe events that we need to really have a healthcare system that is prepared to deal with those federal emergencies, and that we need to work with our healthcare system to reduce the carbon footprint.
Good for you. And the number one technological thing that is happening in the world, aside from AI, which is dubious, what's not dubious is that all forms of renewable energy are plummeting in price. Solar, wind, batteries, geothermal, and electric cars have all dropped in price hugely, while nuclear gets higher. And if someone in the Congress, such as yourself, with the brains and the power to make that clear to the rest of the world, we could possibly save this planet, but certainly California. California gets 100% of its electricity part of every day from solar. So let's drop our electric rates. As you can tell, I'm partisan. Steve Caruso, go ahead, please.
Yeah, what part of Philadelphia? Grew up there. And I left California to go there in 1976. So anyway, the election in this fall, last time we had an election, nobody counted the ballots. There's numerous errors that showed up with the minimal amount of counting that they've done and an assertion of statistics. And we don't want to get blindsided again by this election. Is there anything the Democrats are doing to specifically address how we can thwart actual theft?
Well, we have an election integrity commission every week. We meet on it. We've got working with Mark Elias and other voting rights groups to have poll workers, election observers, working with local election officials, media, journalists, just like we did in the 2025 elections in California, Virginia, and New Jersey. And I believe we can be successful in that.
Good for you. I will tell you these calls originated in part because Ohio 2004, we watched up close and personal. It was definitely stolen. John Kerry was definitely the rightful winner in Ohio 2004, as was Al Gore in Florida 2000. We cannot let that happen again, and we hope that we can rely on the Democratic Party finally to step up not only on gerrymandering but also on the vote count. Donald Smith and then Dr. Nancy. Very succinct, please, Donald.
Okay, Representative Khanna, in 2018, you tweeted, ever since the Orange Revolution began under President Bush, the U.S. has been complicit in the rehabilitation and spread of neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Enough is enough. Our government must stand up to the Azov Battalion and other fascist groups. Can you comment on the fact that the U.S. is not innocent in Ukraine? The CIA was deeply involved in the cover-up.
Thank you, Donald.
Well, look, I think that there was Azov battalions and some neo-Nazi elements in Ukraine, but we shouldn't be supporting those. But we also need to make sure that we aren't allowing Putin to march into Ukraine and take territory. I mean, just because they're neo-Nazi elements in Ukraine doesn't mean that gives Putin the right to violate their territorial sovereignty.
And as we've seen on these calls, there's a tremendous green power movement in Ukraine that's trying to make it 100% renewable, which would certainly change the picture of the war there. Dr. Nancy, Maggie Boyd, and Lynn Feinerman.
Changing the subject a bit, thank you, Representative Khanna, for your support of single payer. I really appreciate it. Do you want to comment on your perspective of the difference between beginning with state-initiated single payer versus national single payer?
Well, I have a bill to make it easier for state single payers and to get the waivers that they need for Medicare and Medicaid and with the appropriate agency so that they can get that funding. But I think long term, we need a federal program. I mean, we need the Medicare waivers, the Medicaid waivers. We need it to be easier to get those waivers. But long term, we need a federal Medicare for all.
Thank you for that. And I should, Dr. Nancy is a medical doctor and a tremendous activist for single payer, as is Paul Newman, who's also on this case and call. And we really appreciate your support for that. Maggie Boyd, very quickly, please. Then Lynn Feinerman, and we'll go back to Chris Sampson and Keith.
Where do you stand on an amendment for eliminating the Electoral College? There's never any talk about that, and I think that's something Democrats need to support.
I support that. I support it, but I think the best way to get it will be to get to the 270 voluntary compact, where a lot of states are signing on saying that they will vote for whoever wins the popular vote. And we're already at a fairly high number. I forget the exact amount, and we just need to get enough states on there.
It's actually close to a majority on and that if we could eliminate the Electoral College and eliminate Citizens United, we might actually have a democracy in this country. What a concept. Lynn Feinerman, please. Lynn's a radio host, Representative Khanna, and a great activist.
Right.
Thank you, Harvey, and hello, Congressman Khanna. Very much an admirer of you. What about the two bills? Mary Gay Scanlon and Summer Lee are each presenting bills in Congress to limit or get rid of the influence of the Electoral College. Are you on board with those? And if not, why?
I will look at those. I'm on board with making sure we don't have the Electoral College and that we have, a 270 vote compact where they vote for the popular vote winner. And I'm open to amendments and reform. I will see if I'm on the bills or not, but I support them in concept.
Thank you for that. Lynn, a follow up? Okay, Lynn's great. Chris Sampson, back in Kyiv.
There we go.
You're muted. You're muted.
Trying to get it on. There we go. So a couple things, probably for another conversation, but I have significant background going up against Adam Waffen and Daily Stormer, et cetera, neo-Nazis. Kind of got an attitude problem about it, no less, against them. And I've done a significant amount of work on that topic here. So when the time is right to clarify some of those comments earlier, more than glad to do so. And more importantly, thank you, Representative, for your clarification that yes, an element within any country doesn't justify what Putin did. What I really want to ask to have good use of your time is to ask people, especially since you have a good caucusing ability with Massey, how when they lobby to Congress on efforts like support for Ukraine at the grassroots level, how they get the best effective results, because there's a lot of people who may show up at your offices or other offices and walk away empty-handed and really have no idea how to do that. Could you leave those words that way people who may hear this later get some good toolkits? Thanks.
Well, I think anyone who has a group of people, whether they're on social media, whether they're in the district, whether they're coming into the offices, when you mobilize a large number of people who have a passionate point of view, that's the best way of getting people's attention in Congress. I mean, I believe that we still respond to that. The reason the Epstein Act passed is the survivors came to the Capitol and they spoke so eloquently and they got the nation's attention, and that really forced the hand of members of Congress and senators. So active groups of people can really work. Sonny, maybe one more question and then I got to.
Okay, and just for the record, Representative, I have a master's degree in U.S. history from the University of Chicago, where I met Milton Friedman, but we did not get along, to put it mildly. Okay, Carissa, last question here. Carissa?
Hi. Yep. Hi.
Go ahead, quickly, please.
What can we do about stop? I get that Trump was bought and paid for by the petroleum industry. What can we do to stop him and his continual ranting that we can't do green because China is only using oil? Well, China has more renewables than the United States, Australia, all of the EU, and Scandinavia combined.
Every year, China installs more solar than the rest of the world. Ro, can you finish? If we can give the last word to Myla Reeson, that'd be great.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. Look, we don't want to lose in the electrification revolution. I mean, the nation that led the steam engine revolution led the economy with Great Britain. Then the fossil fuel revolution, the United States that led, and we led the world's economy. And now if we lose the next energy revolution, which is basically electrification with batteries, with EVs, with solar, with wind, then we're going to lose our power as a country. And so it's not just about climate, it's about American leadership. And we need to say we will win the electrification revolution in this country.
And if we can shut Diablo Canyon, we can 100% electrify California, which is the fourth largest economy in the world. And that's your territory and your constituents. Let's give Myla Reeson from Santa Monica the last word. RO KHANNA, you've been a tremendous guest. We really appreciate it. Come back anytime. Go ahead, Myla Reeson.
I'd like to acknowledge that Alan Minsky also is hoping to have a word. But,
okay, you'll get the last.
Before you speak, Alan, I just want to ask the congressman, and thank you so much for being here. Why do you think it is that so many important Democratic Party leaders are pushing for the expansion of nuclear power, specifically small modular reactors? And let me just say that, as Sonny has said, we are aware of the fact that these small modular reactors are vulnerable to drone attacks. They are expensive. They create more radioactive waste than conventional nuclear power plants, and they're extraordinarily expensive. And I'm just wondering why so many Democratic leaders are embracing this push for small modular reactors.
Well, look, I think that there's a sense with the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change that nuclear is 20% of the source of energy. But I think that the evidence shows that solar and wind and batteries are far cheaper, and that should be the focus in the development. But as I read the report, it shows that we need all types. We can't just be totally without nuclear. But but we can have a longer conversation with staff on it.
Well, we will, and we'll show you very much otherwise. Thank you so much, Alan Minsky.
Yeah,
our
I just
great
was
hero. He's going to wrap us up. Thank you.
No,
again.
I would actually like this audience, because this audience obviously focuses on nuclear energy issues. They also focus on elections and fair elections. Ethan Agarwal from Andreessen Horowitz is they're bankrolling him to challenge you. What is their strategy now? Are they just trying to get into second place and focus on the fall? Or is there a chance that they'll lose to anybody with an R next to them? What's the split in your district? And is there a chance that they won't get through the primaries? Because this is a reprehensible thing they're doing. And if the public understood what the challenge, where the challenge was coming from, given how unpopular, right, the AI oligarchs are, I'm sure they're maybe a little less unpopular up in your district than they are around the country. But nonetheless, I can only imagine that the people.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Their challenge is they're trying to get into the top two and then take it into the fall. And we'll see. I mean, they're two Republicans, so he would have to get about 16% of the vote. It's not a very high number, but he's taken some stances which are very unpopular, of being for the billionaire tax and being for the Iran war and being for NAFTA. So he's really being funded by the billionaire donor class, who's upset at me for supporting the billionaire tax.
Yeah, well, hopefully you'll get 70, some Republican will get 15, and they'll get 10, and that's that. So thank you. Let us know if we can do anything, because we've endorsed you officially, of course.
Thank you. Appreciate
You're
it.
a great gentleman. Thank you. We will have our meeting. We appreciate your time, and
Thank you.
we will lower the electric rates of all your constituents.
Appreciate
with renewable energy.
Take care.
Thank you. All right, that was RO KHANNA. Thank you, Mike Hersh and Alan Minsky, for bringing him to us. You guys are great. We really appreciate it. And I have recently learned, Alan, that like you, Yogi Berra was from St. Louis, and I consider him to be the greatest baseball player of all time, and I consider you to be one of the greatest progressives of all time. So there you go.
Yogi Berra is more accomplished at baseball than I am at being a progressive political gadfly.
All right, this was
thank
great.
you all. You guys rock, and thank you. And look, there's a world of work to do in this year, and going towards November 3rd. You guys do not underestimate how important this group is in terms of your experience and and because of your experience, your knowledge about how elections really operate. I heard what Rose said about the Democratic Party. We're going to need more than the Democratic Party to make this even resemble a fair election.
Yeah, we're certainly going to need more than who's that guy the Democrats always point to as the big guy on election protection?
Steve Elias.
Mark Elias. At the risk of, I am nonpartisan, and I think Mark Elias does not deliver. Having been with this in Florida and Ohio, come on. We need a real. There's a lot of focus on gerrymandering, as well there should be, but it's the vote count that's really going to count, the turnout and the vote count, and that's where it's all going to happen. So thank you.
Again, as I said, this group can really bring the full 360 degrees of what's necessary to produce a fair election. And you're right; there are huge deficits in the way that the establishment approaches it, even if they start to address more of it than they used to. They used to completely repress it. So thank you all.
Yes, thank you, Alan. Thank you so much. I want to point out we have Ray Lutz with us, who's a real expert in protecting elections. Howie Hawkins, who's had his share of this stuff. Howard, you want to jump in here?
Yes, I was just going to add on Mark Elias. I give him credit for, beating Trump in all those lawsuits. But in the Green Party, he and his network of lawyers are the ones that try to knock us off the ballot. And when I was running in 2020, his lawyers were all over the place. So there's a hypocrisy there. Let's put it that way.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and not hip hop. Hip-hop. Okay, let's go with Lynn Feinerman, and then we're going to get into the media with my buddy Dave Saltman, who's a CBS, a veteran of the golden age of CBS, and we got to mourn the departure of Stephen Colbert here and really discuss what it means going forward, because it's very significant. Lynn Feinerman, go ahead, please.
Yes, I agree. We will miss Stevie Colbert hugely.
Well, I don't think for long. I think Stephen Colbert is going to come back.
But as regards the election problems, Women Rising Radio is doing a program now with Marilyn Marks and with T from This Will Hold, both of whom are concentrating on the dangers of the election equipment and how it is connected both through Elon Musk's satellites and everything else, no air gap, and how it is just easily controllable and has been throughout previous elections, at least starting with 2004. I'd also want to just mention, speaking of, we have our work cut out for us, Melissa Bird, who's the wonderful congressional candidate that we featured here on this program on GREEP. She's about 49%, according to the polls, in her district in Oregon. And I was just told by Mimi a really horrible thing, and that is that Bernie came out to support her opponent, Val Hoyle, who has voted for the Fix Our Forests Act, which is, clear-cutting, buzzsaw corporate approach to foresting. And Oregon is full of them, full of forests. And number two, that Val Hoyle takes APAC money. And so it really, really, really bothers me that Bernie has endorsed Val Hoyle when his entire campaign history has been about not taking PAC money. And Melissa worked really, really hard to get Track APAC approved because she wasn't going to take any APAC or other PAC money. So I hate to bring that bad news, but I did want to put it before the group because I think it's really significant.
Okay, Lynn, thank you for that. I'm very sorry to hear it. And I'll put your contact in the chat so people can contact you off as well as on. We got HANIEH, Ruth, and Ray Lutz. HANIEH JODAT, are you there? Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
HANIEH, good to see you, or at least see your name. How you doing? And what do you got for us? We got Dave Saltman in the wings. We're going to go to talk about CBS next.
Yeah,
But
yep.
please talk with us now, HANIEH, please.
Of course. Thank you to you both, Mike Hersh and Mr. Wasserman, for inviting us today for Hartzell to ask that question of Representative RO KHANNA, who's endorsed our campaign, as I mentioned, as Hartzell mentioned. Sending you love, ALAN MINSKY, and my PDA family here as well. Just wanted to talk briefly, as we spoke with Mike Hersh, about things on the ground in Kansas City right now and how we are planning to defeat Mark Alford in the new gerrymandered 4th District in Kansas City, where J.D. Vance was at today, and Mark Alford openly and with open arms welcomed him into Kansas City. And so just wanted to talk briefly about, our volunteering opportunities that we have on the ground. Our campaign has been very blessed to be recognized and endorsed by a number of incredible local organizations like the Sunrise Kansas City, as well as DSA Kansas City, Movement for Freedom, PDA, obviously, and a number of other, and Senator Nina Turner, a number of other incredible organizations. But this month, we're going to be launching our phone banking and door knocking efforts. DSA Kansas City is going to be leading our door knocking events. And I'm more than happy to share our website with anybody who wants to volunteer for Hartzell's campaign. In addition to phone banking is going to be led by Sunrise, which is going to be every night. We're gonna start with 4 nights a week, and then we're gonna expand it closer to the primary. So just wanted to share a couple of links with you all here, and we have an incredible opportunity to actually flip this district from red to blue. As Hartzell always says, they gerrymandered us thinking that they're going to, keep Kansas City Republican, but they played themselves. And now we have a higher chance at being able to actually face Mark Alford. But kind of going back to also what we've been talking about here, campaign finances. When we talk about, I think like we talked about this earlier, I think me and Alan had this conversation. It's so easy for folks to want to hop on and join a campaign that is winning. It is extremely challenging for us to get people to actually build up to a point where a candidate has an opportunity and a chance to win in an election. So what I really would love to encourage everybody is that whoever candidate that you believe in, whoever candidate that you think is going to be the one that's going to represent your ideologies best, give to them $20, $10, $5,
Okay.
any amount. So I'll share the information, log on, join our volunteer group, as well as make a small donation to our campaign. And we would love to have you as a part of our team.
Okay, thank you very much, Hania, and good
That's-
luck on the campaign. We don't raise money here, but you're allowed to outside of us. And please put your contacts in the chat. Okay.
And Sonny, in interest of our nonprofit, nonpartisan status, we are not endorsing any candidate. We're not saying to donate or anything like that. But the points that Hania and Lynn both raised is that there are a lot of great candidates out there. We're not endorsing any of them, but what we are endorsing is the concept of supporting good candidates. Don't give up hope in the electoral system. Don't give up hope that we can make peaceful change, because that's what the other side wants us to do. They want us to give up hope. They want us to give into cynicism. And we've seen amazing public servants. We've had really great candidates and elected officials who have come here and answered every question that we've asked them. And so there is always still hope, but there's only hope if we're willing to work for it. I know we're willing to work for it. Please heed the call.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, provide some sweat equity, provide whatever you can, because this democratic experiment is worth fighting for. And that's part of why we do GREEP. And thank you so much, Sonny.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Hania. I do have my 9-year-old grandson is a dyed-in-the-wool football fan, and he asked me a question which I want to ask you, Hania. Are the Chiefs in Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas City, Kansas?
Where's Hartzell when you need him?
Oh, does anybody know?
Alan would know. Alan,
and what about your district? Is your district in Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri?
Missouri. It's in Missouri. It's in
we're
Missouri.
Missouri. Yeah.
And Alan, you'll know, are the Chiefs in Missouri or Kansas?
They're in Missouri.
Okay.
The bigger city's in
Alan?
Missouri. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for saving my butt. Yep.
Remember, Sonny, the last time the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, Trump congratulated the Chiefs and the entire state of Kansas because he didn't know that they were in Missouri, and because he is a moron.
Oh, okay. Well, my grandson will thank you for the advice, and good luck, Hania, in Kansas City, Missouri as well. Okay. Ruth Strauss, please, and then Ray Lutz.
Well, the first thing is, does your grandson recognize Roll Tide?
No.
Okay,
What is
well, that's a Crimson Tide, Alabama.
Well, Alabama, they don't have an NFL team, but and he's not a college guy yet. But I did inform him that Joe Namath was from Alabama. Am I correct on that?
Okay, great.
Anyway, go ahead.
I'll tell you a funny story about sometime. But anyway, in the meantime, you may not be able to say this on the air, in which case I will, email you. But I'm getting confused about Mark Elias. I obviously donated to you guys, donated to PDA. But I also became one of his supporters because he had sued Trump, like 40 times, and it was about, election problems, or a lot of it was. But now I remember you said something last week that, it was askance about him, and somebody else said something. Alan was yesterday on Ian Masters was kind of promoting him, or what, maybe not promoting, but certainly, said something that wasn't, unkind about him or whatever. So I want to know where we should stand on that. And if you feel like you can't say it on the air, then I'll email you.
Well, I'm going to pass this to the experts, Ray Lutz and then Alan Minsky. Do you want to make your comments about Mark Elias?
Sure.
Yeah, well, okay. So for the most part, I agree with Mark Elias, what he does. What he doesn't do is ever question the results enough. And he doesn't advocate for audits. He doesn't advocate for scrutiny of these things. And he just takes the Democratic point of view immediately, and he talks a lot about election deniers. Now, I don't use the term election denier because I don't think it's a correct term. It's, these people on the right, they don't call themselves election deniers. They call themselves people that believe that Trump won. Okay. And you can say that and they'll say, yeah, that's me. But if you say you're an election denier, they go, no, that's stupid. And so there's a little bit of an edge to that term. Okay. So if you want a conversation, that's not good to use that term. Mark Elias does all the time, and he does not engage with audits and things like that. Now, I have another thing I want to say though.
Is this about Mark Elias? Let's
put me on hold. Put me on hold.
Yeah. We'll go back to because I still got to run in. First of all, I certainly agree with Howie that I'm obviously got Democrats are in the title of the organization that I'm honored to lead. But once upon a time, I was trying to recruit Angela Davis to run for governor of California as a Green Party candidate. So go figure, right? And that really happened in coordination with the Green Party in California about 2001. And I spoke to Angela Davis. It was a very intense experience. It was great, actually. But that was right at the time when Newsom barely beat, was it Matt Gonzalez? So anyway, yeah. So I certainly that thing I imagine what Howie said is absolutely accurate. And in my experience with him is not that deep. But first of all, it was night and day that they brought him on board at all, because they just didn't even acknowledge this stuff until the last election cycle, that this level of Republican vote suppression was going on. The official position of the Democratic Party was sort of behind the scenes to acknowledge that what people like all of you know happens in American elections. And certainly Black Americans knew, and about the Chris Kobach stuff and the research that Greg Palast did, that it's real. Certainly some people may overstate it, but that it's real, but they would not acknowledge it publicly because they feared it would suppress the vote. That was their official line. Absolute hogwash. So bringing Elias on was better than nothing. And certainly Greg Palast felt that way. And he was very heartened by his being foregrounded as a figure within the whole lead up to the 24 election. But yes, I can only imagine that, yeah, if you want to go through the Democratic Party, that's what I said on Ian Masters' show yesterday. That would be the person you'd want to talk to. But in terms of it being really fully adequately addressed, I only imagine that he was not going to really take the whole thing on. He was only going to take a certain portion of the issues on, and that would pretty much have been his assignment from the Democratic Party, because there were clearly elements to Republican vote suppression that were not adequately being addressed in the last cycle and the build up to it. It was better than before, but it was not. I mean, this is incredible what they're doing now. And
it's not just gerrymandering. They're attacking the right to vote, and they're attacking the ability to count the votes. Is that correct? So gerrymandering.
Yeah, well, my sense is that. Yeah, what Elias's thing was doing. There were certain things like the challenges in North Carolina where he stepped up, I believe, and he intervened with people, and they were doing that through the official Democratic Party, if I remember correctly. But they still seem completely blind to the washing out of the voting rolls, the classic Chris Kobach technique. And yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, he's better than he was before. And I think Ray probably knows more about it than I do.
And I just have to tell you, since Ohio 2004, they have never given us the time of day. And your assessment is exactly right. They always say the same thing. Don't raise a question about vote counts because it'll suppress the turnout. I mean, come on. Do we want people to turn out so their votes can't be counted? Is that the point here? So I've never been a fan of Mark Elias, and I don't think he's a fan of me either. But nonetheless, thank you, Alan, for that. I
got to go, guys. It's great to see you, but I got to go pick up my daughter. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, bro. Take care. Great to have you with us. Yep. And congrats on your daughter there. Congrats.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ray Lutz, did you want to add in, and then we're going to move
Yeah,
on
I just
with
wanted to jump back to the RO KHANNA. I really appreciated what he said about his election integrity committee that's meeting every week. I'm definitely going to follow up with him with a lot of details of what we're working on to get that in front of him. Too much detail to try to ask the question today, so I didn't try to do that. But I just wanted to pose something to you because this question came up about how the machines can be hacked and so forth. And this concept that I've been developing called the flustering strategy. Now, Trump is great at the flustering strategy. He tries to fluster his opponents. He tries to fluster people that are his, people trying to be the apprentice, and then fire them. And he flustered Biden, and he tried to fluster Harris. She didn't get flustered, which was to her credit. But basically, he's flustering us all. I mean, we're in a state of trying to understand what's going on every 2 seconds. He changes his mind, et cetera, et cetera. So dial the clock back to the year 2000. And we had punch cards in Florida. And punch cards were actually pretty dang good. There's either a hole or not a hole, generally. I mean, there's some cases where there was a little dimple or something. But generally, if they're working right, those things work really well. And they are a paper record. And so there was no extra machine or anything else. But what they did was they put us into a flustering strategy that took us 20 years to get out of, because they immediately said, let's go over to these electronic machines. And then they knew that they could fix the election with those. And we're just barely getting out of that now. So it's not like we can trust these machines. We still have to look at the paper record to figure it out. And even then, what they have so far with these risk limiting audits and things where they only check one contest, usually not the one that's important, is not working very well. So we've turned a corner in terms of having a better record, but now we need to do more auditing and so forth. But we can never just blindly trust the machine and say, yeah, whatever it says is fine.
Right.
And this is the problem I have with Mark Elias, is he's unwilling to question that part of it. But hats off to him for the other things that he's doing in terms of gerrymandering, objecting to the Texas gerrymander, and they said, no, we can't do that because we're too close to the election. People are already campaigning. And meanwhile, the Republicans do it, and they're able to force that. That was outstanding.
Okay.
So he is doing some really good things. We have to acknowledge that.
Well,
But he's just not able to go into this one area. And that's what I wanted to point out. Okay, thanks.
Well, we're counting on you to get him to go into that area and deal with it, because gerrymandering is one thing, and vote counts and voter turnout, that's the rest of it.
Okay.
And I think we're all less concerned about gerrymandering than we are about vote counting and getting the turnout. I don't know who 702 is, and then we have Marion Edey, and then we go to David Saltman.
Hello,
What?
it's Michelle from Las Vegas. Okay.
Very quickly, Michelle, please. And we got Dave
Yes,
Saltman.
I'm very-
Dave Saltman. We're gonna go to CBS News shortly, but we'll get you, Marion,
Yeah, I'm
Dorothy,
if
and
just let
Steve.
me speak, or it can get done real quickly. I just wanted to say that Byron Tyler Cohen and Mark Elias have these program on YouTube periodically where they talk about these election things, and they also each have separate programs, and you can see them for free on YouTube, and then you'll understand better whatever it is that, and it's also very unfair to condemn some person because they can't do everything. The other people should step up and do those other things that you're talking about, instead of saying, oh, he's bad because he can't do all of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's
very
all I
well
have to-
stated. Okay. And so Ray Lutz, you should go on Mark Elias's podcast and give him hell. Okay. Marion Edey, my good friend Marion Edey, how are you? Good to have you with us. Then we'll go to Dorothy, Steve Caruso, and then we'll go to CBS News with David Saltman. Marion?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I just got an invitation from the Brennan Center and Verified Voting for a webinar they're having. And they're inviting participants to give them a question that they would like to ask. So I'm going to put it to you, how would you phrase, or what question would you ask? what's the biggest ask that we want them to do that they're not doing? How would you phrase that specifically?
Well, let's get Marion. I have your email somewhere. If you'll email me, solartopia@gmail, maybe we'll have a three-way conversation with Ray Lutz and come up with the right question. The Brennan Center is they have great credentials, and
They have a
really-
meeting coming up in 2 days, actually, and that's why she's asking now.
All right, good. Marion, we'll be in touch with you immediately. Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Good to hear from you.
I registered for that. Okay, that's all I need to say.
All right, thank you,
Thanks,
Marion.
Mary.
Great. Dorothy, great to have you back. What's happening?
I don't know. I'm just confused because it seems to me that Mark Elias is winning a lot of lawsuits on our behalf. I mean,
Right, but he has not come to bat for us in
he
places
can
like
only
Ohio
do so
2004.
much. He only has 24 hours in a day. He's without him, we're really toast. So we need to.
Well,
need him.
you're right. You're right about that. But he need. Well, I will let me say this. I will never get over that Kamala Harris said nothing about the manipulation of the election in 2024.
They
There
never
was
do. They never do.
so much to be said for
Never
that vote
do.
count.
They will never. You're right. They never do because they think people won't vote.
Well,
They
it's
say
not,
that.
she absolutely had every obligation in the world to raise questions about the
Well,
24
John
vote
Kerry
count.
had every obligation in the world too, and he
And
didn't
so
do
did
anything.
Al Gore. And so did Hillary
Al
Clinton
Gore. That was just
in
an abomination
2016.
what happened with Al Gore. So
Yes, well,
Democrats
he
just
made
lay
it
down
happen.
and take it. It's amazing to me.
He was completely responsible. And so was Hillary Clinton, who turned down a recount in Michigan 2016. So the Democrats have got to get over this. They got to
Democrats
face up to
just
the
don't
fact.
seem to want to win elections. Well, but at least Mark Elias is going to court and he's winning a lot of cases and getting a lot of stuff
You're
done.
right about it, 100%.
Yeah, Sonny, I think, we recognize, Dorothy, you're an absolute expert. You know a whole lot about what you're talking about. I think what we should do is have a deep dive on this specific issue. But we're kind of rolling a little bit behind schedule now, but
You're 100% right. So in 2 weeks, Mike, we will do that. Dorothy, come back with us. Please, Marion, come back with us. And we will go deep into the weed or the weeds, depending whether it's legal.
And Harvey, I sent you a text about Greg Palast, so please read it.
Yeah, okay. Greg's my neighbor, and so we will see Greg and talk to him soon. Okay, but I definitely appreciate what you're trying to do, and it's 100%. Okay.
Marion, did you want to get in one more time?
Yeah, did you want back in, Marion?
I just wanted to say, and it's sort of like underlying what Sluggo was saying, this fixation with turnout. Actually, we've come to the point, which is amazing historically, where turnout actually hurts Democrats often. That the Republicans sometimes do, we win the off elections in part because there's low turnout. So the obsession with turnout is really misguided at this point, because education is very positively associated with voting Democratic, and educated people vote more. That's
Marion,
all.
we'd love to
Thank
have you
you.
come back in a couple of weeks and really
let's
give this
get
topic
into this.
justice, because
Okay,
we don't want to give short shrift to this very important topic, but we've asked Salty to share
Right,
his
right.
expertise
Well,
with us, and media purchased by billionaires is another huge threat. I see Mila wants to get in, and also Steve.
Are we ready? You guys good, or should we go to David?
Let's go to David. I was going to say something.
Okay,
about,
well,
Elias, but I'll save it for next.
Thanks,
our next
Mila.
session.
David, turn
well,
his camera
as we
on.
want to say to David Saltman, who's going to take over here, that's the way it is. David Saltman, you and I have both met Walter Cronkite, but he was yelling at me. I don't think he was yelling at you. But we want your assessment here. As a veteran of CBS in the golden days, you were there with Dan Rather and Walter Cronkite and all the legends. What is happening with CBS, and how is it? Am I overstating the case when I say that when Stephen Colbert leaves CBS on Thursday, that the network will lose 99% of its intelligence and integrity. Is that an overstatement?
Wow, it's pretty damn close, Was, I have to say. Hadn't thought about it in those terms, but I gotta say, I loved when he and David Letterman were throwing all this stuff off the top of the Ed Sullivan Theater last week. Did you see that? It was
Yes, I don't know how many of you saw it, but Letterman and Colbert got on top of the building and they threw was it watermelons down on the CBS logo?
everything get their hands on,
So,
including
David, what is now happening as the number one veteran from the network news organizations, including Fox, NBC, CNN, CBS? What is now the state of the American media, and how concerned do we need to be?
I think that can all be summarized in a very quick analysis of the summit conference last week between Donald Trump and Dr. Xi in China. All of those networks, with the exception of CBS News, managed to get their chief anchor of the evening news into China so they could actually anchor the newscast from the location where the news was actually happening. This is considered a good thing in the news business. To actually be where the news is good. The only network that was not able to do this, for reasons that nobody still understands, they forgot to get a visa for the evening news. This new guy, Tony Dukopoulos, or whatever his name is, he, on the contrary, could only find a proper location 1,000 miles away from Beijing in Taipei in some hotel. And everyone in the hotel where he was scared to death that if he actually mentioned the location where he was, they could get bombed by the Air Force.
So this level of incompetence is almost incomprehensible. When you were a producer at CBS, how far would your head have rolled if that had happened?
Describe to you. I realize that one of the big problems is these guys are so good at what they do that it looks easy. They sit down, they talk, and they go home, and but you have to realize the difference between being an anchorman or being actually presenting anything on a visual medium as opposed to writing it for a newspaper, for example. When you write something in a newspaper, the reader has the ability, if he missed something or didn't quite get it, he can go back and read it over. But on television, you only get one pass. So the level of clarity has to be so intensely high that it's not possible for anyone to miss that. And this has to be true at every single level of operation. And you just see it coming out of your set. What you don't see when there's a live broadcast from China, there are every microphone. You don't ask for a microphone when you're trying to get the gear to do one of these. You ask for a 4-wire because it has to have 2 channels just in case something falls down. And these channels also have to correspond to a satellite that has to be booked months in advance. So there's a whole unit of the newsroom. It doesn't exist in even in radio or anything. There's a satellite desk. There's a transport desk. These are colossally complicated operations. And Barry Weiss, with all due respect, hasn't got the first clue as to what she needs to be doing. She thinks she can just say, we want to, I don't know if you want to get a real laugh, and I encourage the audience to do this, there's something on Facebook called CBS News alumni. And it's anybody can find the thing. You can't contribute unless you're a card-carrying alumnus, but you will get a hoot of laughter because it's all these names that you know, or you've heard them before, talking about, can you believe what she did now? And there's also a very interesting new, and I would recommend this to everybody. You really want to get the skinny on what's happening in not just at the networks, but all the media. There's a new online, I wanted to call it publication, called Status by a guy named Oliver Darcy. Very good. He's very plugged into CBS news people. And I gotta say, these people, I made a film with Walter Cronkite. There it is. That's it. CBS News alumni. Private group, 809 members. These are all old timers. These guys really know what they're talking about.
And Salty, you also really know what you're talking about. And I just want to put to you that Barry Weiss is doing the job she was hired to do, which is basically gut any investigative capacity on CBS and make it part of Trump-run media, that, the Ellison empire. Can you comment on that, please?
Well, so are you suggesting that she's maybe concealing her evil intent by making incompetence?
I think her evil intent is quite evident, actually.
The competence is irrelevant. All she has to do is make sure 60 Minutes doesn't put out anything that Trump doesn't like, and CBS News doesn't put out anything that Trump doesn't like, and no comedians make any jokes that Trump doesn't like. And she's just a simple bag person.
You really got a good point there. What she did to 60 Minutes, now this is real inside baseball, and 60 Minutes is famous for what Leslie Stahl was trying to do, and what Barry ended up doing to Leslie Stahl. We call this bigfooting. I was bigfooted by Morley Safer once. I got an interview. Morley Safer is Canadian. You guys probably know that, but it was Canadian. And I had booked an interview with I can't think of his name now, but the hero of Quebec nationalism. This is back in the day, and I was ready to put him on not on 60 Minutes on Sunday morning. I worked at Sunday Morning with Charles Kirol, and I got this irate call from Morley Safer, just taking my skin off. How dare I, try to book this guy when I, Morley Safer, wanted him on 60 Minutes. He gave me a really hard time, and finally he just beat me up so much that I said, Morley, dude, he's yours. Yeah, there he is. He's actually a very charming guy, but he could be mean. He could be very mean. But a brilliant guy, very funny, charming reporter. These guys were giants. They really knew their stuff. And so I wanted to say what Barry did with bigfooting 60 Minutes. Leslie Stahl had wanted to get this interview with Netanyahu. This was about Netanyahu. And she wanted to run it on 60 Minutes, which is a very appropriate booking, in my opinion, and the perfect place to run it. And you can, 60 Minutes has been the number one, not just the number one news program, but the number one show on television for 20, 30 years in a row, without even there wasn't even a single rating period where it dropped to number two. I mean, this is really stunning for a news broadcast, and a serious news broadcast. It wasn't goofy or anything. These were not face people. You could never accuse, Morley Safer of being a face man, So anyway, Barry Weiss goes in there, and first of all, she books. They're the greatest bookers in the whole business work for CBS. The woman who books the Oscars, works for CBS out of LA. She's the best booker. Everybody knows her. She's the best booker in the world. Forget about it. Barry calls up somebody she knows in the Israeli Prime Minister's office, and everybody knows somebody in the Israeli Prime Minister's office these days. And she books Netanyahu, and she books Major Garrett, who's one of the Washington correspondents, to do the interview. And then wants to put it on 60 Minutes. Well, 60 Minutes is very, what's the word? I was going to say uppity, very
proud.
Well, I was going to say it takes care of
territorial.
It manages the borders. Its borders very like Morley Safer. Like, how dare you cross into my turf? You know. So Major Garrett is not on 60 Minutes turf. He's out of the Washington bureau. We get that he's one of your guys, but we don't care. We want him dead. You know. That's how 60 Minutes would the attitude. And Leslie Stahl is not to be trifled with. And so anyway, but Barry Weiss had no sense of the inner. You got to take care of these people to work with them. Otherwise,
so David, in the bigger picture now, if Colbert is leaving CBS, and they're bringing in a comedy show that's not going to get any ratings whatsoever.
Do we know in a comedy show?
Yeah, they've named the comedians. Nobody's ever heard of them. So the question then becomes, what has happened to the media? CNN is going to be bought, or may be bought by Ellison. We got Fox. You do have the comedians. I mean, you've got Jon Stewart, you've got John Oliver, you've got Seth, what's his name, the guy on Tonight. You have Desi Lydek, Rachel Maddow. So there is a lineup, but none of them are CBS. All of them could be, all their networks could be bought by billionaires. The billionaires don't care about making money. All they care about is protecting billionaires, whether it's Trump or the next billionaire after them. What is the future of the American media? I mean, CBS was more than a national treasure. It was the heart of the information gathering apparatus that fueled American democracy.
CBS.
And now it's gone. So what is going to now, what is the information apparatus that is going to fuel the future of American democracy?
Well, that's a good question, and it looked pretty grim. Although I have to say, I've been impressed by, for example, I just mentioned this thing, Status. It's a very simple presentation, but they do a really good job. And the key to the thing is, it's really it can be all expressed in that thing about they couldn't get the guy a visa for the right location. You've got to go where the news is. You can't let the news come to you. You've got to go to it. And did you know? I bet you didn't know this. This is a great to win a barroom bet. The expression Dr. Livingston, I presume, everybody knows that expression, right?
Right. It was in Search of the Lost Chord by the Moody Blues.
Dr. Livingston, I presume, was the statement that was made by the very first news reporter who was sent on the very first assignment where a reporter went to the country. James Gordon Bennett Jr., who was the editor of the New York Herald, sent his reporter to Africa, and he said, find Dr. Livingston, who was a famous medical worker.
But and your point is nobody's going to be doing that. So how is the American people in the wake of this going to be informed?
I think someone is going to be doing that. And whoever does that is going to win that contest, because that's the only way you can really do it. If you wait for the news to come to you, you just get propaganda. And I think the comedians have a role to play in that, but I don't think that they are the ones who could, and you weren't necessarily suggesting this, but I don't think they should be the ones, or even could be the ones, who are the reporters, the news reporters. And the reason is they're very good at what they should be like. It should be like the relationship in a newspaper between the journalists and the editorial cartoonists. You know, they illustrate and they amplify the news and they make it more understandable, but they're not responsible for.
So who's gonna inform the American people? We have an army of podcasters out there. We
Yes.
have an army of Zoom calls like this one. We have, the internet, we have podcasting, we have all these other decentralized sources of information. But who is going to be paid attention to? Who is going to have the gravitas that CBS used to have to call a guy like Donald Trump on the carpet?
Well, I think a really good choice here would be Pacifica.
From your lips to God's ears.
Pacifica would be a perfect answer to this dilemma, because Pacifica has it's like Brooklyn. Brooklyn was a disaster until the Municipal Art Society decided why don't we just reverse the polarity of the Brooklyn waterfront, and suddenly Brooklyn became the center of the universe. This is the same idea as Pacifica. It's dead in the water. It's looking terrible. It's barely got a pulse left. But suddenly, new management shows up. It's got what it needs, which is the network exists, the licenses exist. It's got everything you need. It's got hundreds of affiliates. It's got a staff. It's got all kinds of good stuff. And that's where to build this. That's the way CBS started. Remember when Paley first started CBS, he was not a billionaire. He ran a cigar store in Philadelphia, and he realized that radio, this was his brilliant insight. He combined radio, which was a new thing. This would be in the 20s and the 30s, with another new thing, advertising. And he started advertising his cigars. And I think his initial buy-in was 6 radio stations, which you could buy for, nobody was listening, so they didn't care. And pretty soon that became the CBS radio network. But but news, and this was a brilliant insight of his, he always kept news segregated from that advertising plus advertising and comedy. And he was responsible for the comedy too. Paley was the first guy who hired all these out of work vaudeville performers. He basically took the Pacifica concept. Vaudeville was dead, okay? Because radio was started to replace it. And Paley hired Jack Benny, and he hired Phil Harris, and he hired
Milton Berle,
Phil Silvers,
right,
and all these guys. And he put them all on the radio, but he segregated the news, because news in those days, and this is very important in my view, and this is where Walter Cronkite and all these guys came out of. This is the Edward R. Murrow concept. News is a public service.
Well, there you go. And the last thing our fleet of American billionaires care about is public service. In fact, they're opposed to it. So, David, can we get some questions? What do you think?
Sure.
Okay, Maggie Boyd, then Steve Caruso and Heidi. But, the other question we want to ask is, where is Colbert going to go? Will he link up with his buddies, Jimmy Kimmel and Jon Stewart? Is there an alternative, along with Pacifica, is there an alternative network to be formed that would take the place of CBS? Maggie Boyd?
I'd like to know if you would be considering Mark Elias as a guest, so that instead of talking about him, you can talk with him.
Yes, we'll take him. Absolutely, Maggie. If you can get him for us, please
Oh,
do.
I don't have any connections. I figured you guys did.
Well, I want him on, absolutely. And we can interview him, and we'll call ourselves CBS News, and we'll interview Mark Elias. And,
Have
and
you
we'll have
have
David
you
sit
asked him to
sit
come?
in for Walter Cronkite.
Now, here's the difference between the way you're talking and the way CBS News would do it. CBS News would go to Mark Elias's house and see where he lives, and they would put a little radio microphone on his collar that after about an hour he'd forget that he was even wearing it, and they would be recording every word he said, and there's no stepping back from that. And they would spend about a week. We call this parachuting into somebody's life. They would parachute into his life, and then you would get a real profile of Mark Elias. If he comes to you, he gives you what he's brought with him, and that's it.
But Maggie, you got a great idea. I'd love to have Mark Elias on. We'll put David Saltman in the Walter Cronkite chair, and and we'll do the interview. Steve Caruso, and then Heidi.
Yeah, that'll be better than Dave's interview with Ronald Reagan. Go ahead.
Did I tell you about my interview with Reagan?
Yeah, you were the only one that did it.
I know.
Yep. Nobody ever interviewed Reagan but you. You are the man.
I didn't say that nobody ever interviewed him. I interviewed him in the Oval Office.
Oh, okay. Nobody else did that, though.
No one had ever done that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Ronald Reagan had one unforgettable line in the Oval Office. He brought a dog into the Oval Office, and somebody said, "Mr. President, that dog is going to pee on your desk." And he said, "Well, why not? Everybody else does."
So
anyway,
they're going to replace Colbert with the Rush Limbaugh cartoon reruns. But the Pacifica thing, I mean, they're talking about that. She just did her tour around the country, Amy Goodman, with her movie Steal This Story. Okay. And they're saying that there's like 3 people that run that operation. I can't believe that. That's hard. But then she reels off like 20 after the show. So that's wrong. And then you look at Hungary with Magyar. He's going to start breaking up the consolidated media in Hungary. He's already started. So this is just out today, or recent coverage.
The future of the media, it's got to be through the internet, as best we can tell. I mean, I've watched Colbert for years. I only watch Colbert on YouTube late at night, like at 4 a.m. And so whatever network, whatever is carrying him, is no longer relevant. It's all about the internet. And so if these guys, Jon Stewart, Kimmel, Desi Lydic, if they can work the internet, can't they transcend the likes of CBS? Salty?
It might be possible. Build it. It's kind of like build it and they will come. This thing's status just started up, as far as I know, just out of nowhere.
Harvey?
And it's drawing already. Everybody at CBS is reading it, and everyone in the business is reading it. Or seeing. It's a podcast basically. It's well done. They're obviously TV pros. They know how to. They know what They know how to stage it. It's all
right. Well, let's look. Tucker Carlson got fired, and he's probably making more money now than he ever did, doing broadcasting out of his. Not that he needs the money.
He probably is making more money.
Harvey, we're getting late, and we have Mariah.
Yeah, I understand.
But David's very important. I'm sorry, David.
No, we'll get Mariah. I was going to call on you, but I wasn't sure how to pronounce your name. Can you give me and Salty 10 more minutes here, and then we'll get to you, please? Okay. Mariah, are you there?
Yep, that works fine.
Great.
Sorry.
Okay, Heidi, and then Mila. And then we can wrap it. Salty, I understand that you and Colbert are going to get together and start a new network. Is that right?
I would love to talk to him about it. Here's the thing about him that I really would like to hear. If you remember when he started, he was not in the role that he is now. He was playing a role. He was playing the right-wing fascist newscaster.
Right.
What's his name? The guy that wrote all those terrible books on Fox News.
We're talking about a lot of people. So go.
He was playing Bill O'Reilly. Remember
Oh,
that?
yeah, yeah.
That's how he started. And he did that for years and years. He's really not used to being and he had tremendous energy doing that role. When he became the host of essentially a variety show, he was back in his own self as a persona. He didn't have a character, in other words. And he's still good, but he's much more.
Well, the question is
plain vanilla. So
the question is, what's he going to be next?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think he'd like to go back to doing characters.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. The rumor also is he's moving back to South Carolina, where he could, in fact, run for senator.
He ran before, and remember that?
He kind of ran as a joke, but his sister seriously ran for Congress.
Yeah.
And I know his older brother looks just like him, and I can see if I can't find his brother.
Well, you know what? Bring his brother on our podcast. Bring his brother on our Zoom, and we'll just say it's him.
We might get away with that. They do look a lot alike. They're from an enormous family.
All right. Al Franken would be a great booking for the Zoom.
Yeah, let's get Al Franken on. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of people. We book whoever we can. And if anybody has the contact information, that makes it so much easier. Or if you actually know them, that makes it so much easier. Yeah. Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Let's go with Heidi and then Mila, and then we're going to go to Mariah. Heidi, go ahead for Dave Sullivan.
Yeah, I know that there's been some discussion of talk about corporate control of media lately, especially with that top 10 thing that that the New York Times put out. And I'm just wondering also like where David is, where we can find him, and what possibility might there be of David Saltman coming up with like you said, with a program with Stephen Colbert and helping them to do that. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Salty, if you could use one of your $3 or $4 billion in your savings account to fund a new network, that'd be great.
I would love to do that. Really, I would.
How much would a new network depend on money?
I've actually costed this out. It depends on how pervasive you want to be. In other words, do you want to have 25 foreign news bureaus or only 3? You know what I'm saying? So that makes a big difference. And at one time, CBS News had 25, and now they only have 3. So these are real numbers. But you're looking at somewhere between $30 and $50 million. It's a taste, you know.
It'd be pocket change for some billionaire, unfortunately.
I don't think. I mean, you've got a tremendous cash flow if you're going to be selling advertising. You know, that stuff ain't cheap. And if you're running the Super Bowl, you know, and like that, so it's totally a cash flow business. It was always a great business, which Paley found out right away. And advertising is always a great business. And by the way, let me just leave with this. I mean, I'll answer any questions if you want, but I want to make this one point that I think never gets really focused on in this kind of discussion. In my opinion, the real enemy here is not the billionaire per se, and it's not the sort of the agenda setting issue between the press and the president, which is a real thing, but it's not the main issue. The main how do we put this? The specific ulcer of our time is advertising. That's the cause of this whole problem. It's advertising.
Okay. Well, let's leave it at that. We'll come back to that. Salty, I'll advertise your next appearance on our show, and It's always great to have you, and I am in Teaneck, so we'll have dinner with you and Sam soon enough. Thank you so much, David.
I think Sam is on the broadcast tonight.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, Sam. And Myra, do you want to
Yeah.
finish, and then we're going to go to Myra. How do I pronounce your name?
Mariah?
Mariah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mariah,
go ahead.
I'm looking forward to hearing from
Myra, go
Mariah.
ahead, and then Mariah, you're going to talk to
Yeah.
us about solar in Ohio.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to hearing from Mariah. I just want to say that Stephen Colbert will have endless opportunities to do whatever he wants to do. He's been invited to co-host for all of the Jimmies and all the late night and who knows what. It's his staff, over 100 people, I think 150 people who are now unemployed. But Stephen Colbert will live on and on and on in the media. It's his 150 or so employees that are really going to be suffering.
Well, I think we'll invite Stephen and his 150 employees to be on our next GREEP Zoom. And meanwhile, they'll learn about solar power in Ohio. Mariah, where are you in Ohio? And what is your agenda here with solar energy in the Buckeye State?
Yeah, so I'm located in Columbus now, but I grew up in the Appalachian region of the state. So been a little bit of everywhere over the course of time.
Mariah, can you speak up just a little bit?
Yeah, we'll try this. Is that any better?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm currently located in Columbus, and I grew up in the Appalachian region of the state.
Okay, so what is your, and as you can see, I'm on Lake Erie here. So what is your project here with solar in Ohio? And we
So
still have 58 people with us, and we will go past the top of the hour. So go ahead.
So we have a little bit of everything going on. So the biggest thing I'm working on is community solar. That's an energy bill. It's House Bill 303. It was introduced just last fall, but that was because before then we were in House Bill 15, which is our energy omnibus. So we've been working on this for a while, and we were introduced in 2 previous General Assemblies as well. And in our case, community energy is what's known as community solar in some other states. But here in Ohio, we're going to have an all of the above energy approach. So it would allow in community owned wind, solar, hydroelectric, fuel cells, biogas, a whole bunch of different things so that we can right fit those community projects to each community.
Well, I assume that does not include small modular reactors, but
It could, but there is a 10 megawatt cap on any projects. So we do not expect to see many, nuclear or gas or anything projects get approved in it.
what would happen if your bill passes? How is that going to facilitate the spread of renewable energy in Ohio?
So it would bypass the Ohio Power Siting Board because all of these projects are smaller than what we're required to go in front of them for. That's that 50 megawatt limit. And that would also help us jump the queue at PJM so we don't have to go in front of PJM for interconnections because all of these projects would be distribution side. And because they're community projects, then it would help to lower people's power bills by avoiding all of your energy needing to come from those wonderful monopoly utilities.
So are you saying that you'd have microgrids? And what does the state have to do with any of this?
So right now, we are not allowed to have community energy projects on our EDUs. So those big
What's an EDU?
So
Sorry,
those electric distribution utilities, so the big guys, so like AEP, First Energy, all of your investor owned utilities where they have shares and they have a profit that they have to make. So we would be bypassing them, which they don't love, of course, because monopolies want to monopoly. But we would be helping out, everyday households by putting that energy directly on the distribution grid. So it's not a microgrid project. It's just more that you're feeding energy in close to where it's used for houses and small businesses.
Well, that sounds good. So let me tell you about my experience. I was in the wind power business for about a year, and I was going to farms in northern Ohio where the wind is good. Northern Ohio, the what we call the North Coast, is perfect for commercial farmer-owned wind power. The land is flat. The wind is not torrential like it is out in the Great Plains, but it's strong enough. And the real key is you have transmission lines everywhere. So unlike the Dakotas or Kansas and Nebraska, you don't have to build power lines. You've got the power lines there. And the sites are not that far from Cleveland, Akron, Toledo, Ashtabula. And you can go in, as I was doing, and persuade the farmers to put a good-sized wind turbine on their farmland. A turbine, the base is less than an acre. For the time that time, the windmills were 1 megawatt. They're now 5 megawatts, for God's sakes. And you can make good money doing nothing.
Right.
You get somebody, they put up a windmill and they pay you for the power, and that's it. But then the legislature, and we could have had thousands of megawatts, and there was in fact $4 billion worth of private capital ready to put windmills, wind turbines into northern Ohio. And suddenly the legislature put one sentence into the Ohio code saying that you had to have a 1,500-foot setback from the property of your for the line of your property, which eliminated all the windmills. No reason in the world, no health reason, no environmental reason, no economic reason except to protect utilities. The one thing, I always love this, the one danger they came up with was that a wind farm in the winter can sometimes will get ice on the blade, and then when it warms up a little bit, you will get what's called turbine fling, which when it gets to a temperature, the ice will go flying off the windmill and it might hit a cow. So that was the sole, and they killed $4 billion worth of wind power in northern Ohio with that one sentence, which is still in the Ohio Code. How is your bill going to affect that?
So because we have smaller projects and they're community-based instead of utility-based, we're allowed to go around and bypass some of those pieces. But when we have spare time and we're not helping individuals go solar with their own projects or helping with community energy to get it passed, we're working with a group with the Energy Coalition here in Ohio, because we want to have them relook at Senate Bill 52, which is that bill that you're talking about that made basically a wind and solar ban, because each county now has the ability to block those projects altogether. And it has really slowed down bringing new energy online in Ohio since then. So we want to work on pulling back parts of it and putting the power back with the Ohio Power Siting Board, and not letting them just be able to, bring in big oil and big gas money to put a kibosh on these projects whenever we shouldn't be.
So if your bill passes, can I go back to northern Ohio and talk to those farmers and sell those windmills?
You can, as long as you keep each individual project under 10 megawatts.
Well, that's no problem. I mean, they're all going to be 1 or 2 megawatt.
And that's what we keep talking to everybody about, that this lets small farmers even participate, because they can still just use a portion of their land for a wind turbine or two. They can use a small portion, like their back 40. I grew up on a farm. I know some of your land just doesn't farm well. That's a given. And it would be great if the farmers had the option to put other projects on that land and be able to gain money from it, or be able to do agrivoltaics and have both things going on in a space. Cows don't mind a wind turbine, so why can't we have
Well,
those together?
unless they're Trump supporters.
Well,
but of course, no matter how bad your farmland is, you can always grow hemp. So anyway, Ann, you have a question, Ann M, and then we'll go to Steve Caruso, and then Heidi. Ann M, are you still with us? Let's go to Steve.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Ann, please.
Yes, just when you guys were speaking about how, like, who's gonna be getting the news out to people, I wanted to bring up shadow banning. So there's no way to know if I have been shadow banned, but I'm a performer, and I was copied by Pharrell for his song Happy, because I'm happy. The the freestyle dancing through the streets. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. Like, it's tough for me to speak up. But I just wanted to bring up how there might be talented artists or people with something important to say. How even if someone's not straight up shadow banned, that the algorithm might be suppressing keywords, and that the element of people getting in an echo chamber, even if they are getting good messages, there's plenty of people that are just getting the same stuff. Like, they're not even getting exposed to these people. So,
And
yes.
could you come back later and we could do a deep dive on that topic? But right now you're imposing on a guest who's here to talk about a specific
Well,
topic.
Ann, actually, yes, Ann, it's a very
I'm sorry.
interesting topic.
I'm new to this. I'm just
No,
trying
no,
to
no.
jump in here.
I'll see. You email me. You have my email. We'll set you up in 2 weeks because it's an
Yeah.
important discussion.
I'm
Okay.
just very quickly, I'm just talking about people taking things to the streets more, and it being more feasible for people to talk about stuff on the street with performers, because people are not going to see these ideas on the internet that
You're
need
right.
spreading
You're
the word.
absolutely right.
Okay.
Well, this is up our alley, Ann. So let's talk
Great.
in 2 weeks. Email me, please.
Will do, Kate. Sorry, and thank
Okay,
you.
Ann.
Bye.
All right, we'll see you later. Yeah. We're here still with Myra. Steve Caruso, go ahead, please. You're in Ohio.
Yeah, the big quandary here is Facebook just put up 6 Quonset huts, each a football field in size, and there's a huge 14-inch gas line right by the road where these Quonset huts are being installed. Now, if Ohio had been doing the people justice, they would have stopped concentrating on gas and fossil fuels and gone with the alternative energy thing. We have a field near us, 550 acres. That's putting out 107 megawatts. Well, yeah, and now they're putting 200 megawatt gas-fired power plants up beyond Facebook, what Facebook's doing. So I have no idea what they're doing. Next door, across the street, literally across the street, these huge data warehouses, Google has a whole bunch of cooling fans. And there's like houses like 500 feet away or something. Those fans, it's just horrible. One thing I wanted to talk about, Raya's thing, is that it's a co-op. People pitch in, people donate. The companies that install the solar give money to the co-op. So everybody's pitching in. They have a 20% discount. Some people can get approved for in Columbus. Is that right? Columbus area. And it's not just locked down to one, just a geographical map where it's, boundaries in Columbus. But, Ohio's a Don Quixote state. They're always tilting at windmills and then polluting us. We had bad air quality this winter one day. Now, when they put these 14-inch diameter gas lines, what's going to happen with the air quality then? And the Columbus thermal and all the other data warehouses that are going up that road up there near Intel and that whole metro park. It's great. We have a thermal going from Cincinnati up through Columbus, and that's going to extend it. So Cleveland, when you are experiencing 90-degree temperatures in the middle of winter, you'll know why. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, that's why Lake Erie, it looks like what it is behind me there. Heidi, go ahead, Heidi. And Carl Grossman, it's good to see you, bro. Heidi?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, we're at 4:06. Got 14 minutes to go.
I know.
Okay.
So anyway, I worked with Matt Zawisky and for Ralph Nader to help stop the Davis-Besse plant. I believe that was in Ohio, if I'm not.
Yes, it still is, unfortunately.
Right. And I'm wondering if there's a way that you can find people from that group that were supporting its shutdown to help you support the thing. I don't know your bill. I don't know if there's a way that I can come up with Matt Zawisky's info to get in touch with those people that were part of the group that I was working with, but just generally, maybe there's groups around that can help you.
Yeah, we have a lot of great support from groups like Third Act, Sierra Club, some of the old Ready 100 groups, Ready 50 groups are still around and help us out with things, as well as we belong to an energy coalition. So we work routinely with, Power Clean Future Ohio, Ohio Citizens Action, Ohio Environmental Council, to name a few. Working on all those, as well as Morgan Harper with Stand Up Columbus, who I believe was on about a month ago here on this show. So we try to keep it in the loop with a little bit of everybody working on energy issues in Ohio to see how we can all help each other out. Nobody does this stuff alone.
Thank you. Howie Hawkins, nobody does this alone from the Green Party.
Yeah, Heidi mentioned Matt Zawisky, who I work with a lot. In fact, we have an article together in Ralph Nader's Capitol Hill Citizen coming out. Well, it just came out on Ukraine. And so if Heidi, wants to be in touch with Matt, I can put her in touch with him.
Oh, cool. So
Mariah and Heidi, Mariah and Howie, you want to exchange context, please do it in the chat. So Mariah, we're with you on this, and I think Stephen, the fight that you're talking about here with these data centers is going on nationwide. I mean, this is a very big deal. I saw an article somewhere on the internet claiming that there are now more citizens groups fighting against data centers than are fighting against wind turbines, which is, a step forward in the age of Trump. So it seems to me, I don't know, maybe Howie knows, are there national organizations fighting data centers generically?
I know everybody, Grassroots. I know the Green Party's talking about it. I mean, everywhere where these are proposed, people are upset. You heard about the one in Utah? It's going to be twice as big as the island of Manhattan. And Utah is not known for, environmental activism. The people are up in arms about it. And the governors shove it down their throat.
How many gigawatts was that? Do you know?
I don't know the numbers, but
Southern Ohio, they have a 10 gigawatt proposed plant that's going to be powered by 10 gigawatts of gas energy. That's
right. They hooked it up straight to the state house.
Refining area where it's all polluted with radiation.
And another case is the Nevada utility, I forget its name, is going to divert power from people that live in Lake Tahoe to a data center, so they may lose their power. It's crazy.
And who benefits from these data centers? Who owns? Are they all owned by Google and Facebook?
BlackRock, the whole thing. Look at it. It's not like Facebook's doing us a community service here, and I think everybody should start boycotting it. I've always said that. And I'm just done with it. You know, they want to go nuclear, they want to go, fossil fuels. No, I ain't buying it. And they can go to wherever they want to go, whatever.
Well, I've seen some aerial photographs of some of these data centers, and I have never seen one that has solar panels on the roof. And these guys are using this wave of data centers and crypto and AI to justify building the new reactors. And I mean, as Howie, I mean, with the Green Party, is there a central database on how many of these data centers they want to build and exactly how much power they say they need?
But the Green Party doesn't have one. The Green Party is so decentralized. I don't know where the center is. And it's from the beginning. I think if you go online and Google around, there's probably somebody trying to compile that data.
Mike Hersh, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, our friend Christian Nunez, who's been on the show several times, is working on a project, especially to protect communities of color and impoverished communities in less affluent areas that are usually preyed upon. But she's working on going after these data centers and keeping them out because for all the reasons that we've heard, they're too big, too greedy. They hoard too much energy. They destroy too much drinking water, and they create a huge biological threat to all the nature and the human beings around there with the noise and the pollution and on and on and on. It's just, I thought fracking was bad, and this is like fracking point two. It's just a crazy, lunatic idea. And these billionaires and these tech bros think that they can ram this through. They're finding out in Utah, like Howie said, hardly a hotbed of tree huggery. And people just don't want it. They won't have it. And so I'm working a little bit with Christian, and we'll have a presentation maybe in a couple of weeks, maybe in 3 weeks. But this is something we'll keep on top of. Yeah.
Howie, let's coordinate you with Christian Nunez. She's a great activist. She's been on with us. Paul Newman, you want to jump in here? Paul in Santa Monica? Paul Newman, you got your hand up. Got to unmute. Paul has solar panels on his roof, and he is a one-man data center. So we're almost out of time. Go ahead,
Okay.
Paul. Yeah.
Okay, I was unable to unmute. What I was going to say is Google is experimenting with having a data center in space because if you take a rotating satellite or anything, any human being, the side that's not the sun isn't shining on is extremely cold, and they can use that to cool down the data centers, and then they would broadcast the data down to Earth. So they're working on that technology also, but it's insane. It's like a wildfire, and it's irresponsible, and it has to be looked at. All the other alternatives have to be looked at, and but even the dark side of the moon, if they wanted to put data centers there, they could do that too.
Well, I'll support that if Elon Musk will have his personal offices that place.
And I think Pink Floyd has to sign off on
it. So
Well,
anyway,
that's
there's other
interesting, Paul.
alternatives besides using being on our planet.
Well, the question then is, what good is going to come to the general public from these data centers? It's all about crypto, and then AI is being built as this miracle cure, but for what? Anybody have an answer?
Robots.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah, Ray, go ahead.
Yeah, so I did hear about this thing about the data centers and space concept, and it really isn't supported very well. Like, yes, space is very cold, but it's also a vacuum. And as you know, if you have a vacuum, like a vacuum packed, thermos, it doesn't conduct heat through that vacuum. So the only way to get the heat out is through radiation. And that means you need a really big radiator. And when you start working out the details, it makes no sense at all. But it didn't make any sense anyway, because it's so costly to put stuff up there.
But it's
And
still cold. It's so cold in space. I mean, you
Yeah, I
know,
it's
don't
cold,
understand.
cold, but it's a vacuum, so you don't have any
heat
conduction
transfer,
of the heat. You'd be better off
even
to put it
direct metal to metal.
So you're
You know,
saying you need an
have a heat
atmosphere?
sink on a chip.
you'd be better off putting it in the depths of the ocean, where you have conduction and it's
Don't
also
say
very
that.
cold.
Don't. Say
No, I'm just saying that this doesn't make any sense. But maybe in Antarctica, we can send everything down there.
No,
Thermodynamic.
Well,
no.
if they put it on the moon, will they have to string a wire?
Have you
That's just as bad.
seen?
It's a vacuum as well, and so it really doesn't radiate there. So they'd have to have really big radiators to be able to get the heat out. It doesn't map. Okay, even though it's cold, it's a vacuum. And so anyway, just thought I'd
It's
throw that in.
it's
All right. Well, listen.
vaporware. It's vaporware. They're not going to do any of these things.
No,
It's
and
just,
and
it's
the trouble is that yeah, the data centers in general, I don't think they'll last very long. I'll tell you why. It's pretty easy to set up a local AI, and it's going to go that way. I predict, take my prediction, people will have it in their phone. You're going to have a very, very good AI machine in your phone in a number of years, and you won't need to go to their data center or pay them their money. But none of these businesses pencil out at all. You know, none of them are making can show that they would have a hope of making any money.
Oh my God.
Uh,
What are we looking at here? Where is
This
this?
this is Facebook on the right, and on the left is Google. Now there's a field down here on the right below. It looks like I don't know if these 5 buildings there, but they're like maybe that's the things I was talking about. The
Where is
Quonset
this?
huts.
This
That
is
is
Central Ohio.
huge, and then there's a huge pipeline going.
And you'll notice there are 0 solar panels on any of
Not
these buildings.
one. And they came in saying, well, we're going to use alternative energy. You know, Facebook's on the ball. We got here's these air compressed.
Well, what they have in all these buildings, they have giant wheels with chipmunks running in them.
Yeah. Right.
So,
well, they
all right,
don't
well,
have
listen, guys, this is
they,
phenomenal.
Mariah.
Mariah.
Let's hear
Sorry.
from
They call the wit
Harvey.
Mariah, but they spell it Maria. But
Harvey,
that's a
let's,
beautiful name, Mariah. Vina Colley. Oh, Vina's with us. Do you
yeah.
want to say something real quick, Vina?
Yeah, I just want to say that they're going full steam ahead here at Piketon, Ohio for the gas power plant, the largest in the world, the data center.
Yeah, it's like 90. How many megawatts did they want for that place?
9,200 or almost
Whoa.
10 gigs.
10
And
gigawatts. That's 10 nuclear power plants and be fired by gas, right?
Yep.
The power for gas is 9 something megawatts.
And where's the gas going to come from?
I don't know. They haven't had any public meetings or any public input, no environmental impact statement. There's nothing.
NDAs.
That our local commissioners signed an NDA to give them full steam ahead. And so right now they're having meetings with all of the trades, and they want to train all these people to do these jobs, and they want to make a lot of small modular reactors in Piketon. And right now, HALU is making fuel for these reactors, and then if they get or for the data centers, and if they get the small modular reactors, they will be making power for all these data centers.
Well, with that happy note, we will meet again in 2 weeks. And this has been another phenomenal session. We still have 45 people with us. I think we have the longest attention span of any group of people in the United States. So thank you, everybody. Listen, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Thanks, Steve Caruso, Mike Hersh. Good to see you, Ray. David Saltman, thank you for the report from the CBS News Desk. Howie Hawkins, always great to see you, Ann. Good to see you for the first time, Dr. Nancy, Paul Newman, everybody, Mila.
Thank you.
And everybody listen, no nukes. Oh, and thank you, RO KHANNA. that was really a good session with the congressman, and we're going to move on from that. And Howie, it was great to get the report from Ukraine. We really need that. And you know, I got to get this guy to give me the. I want to bet $100 with him against it on his 100-to-1. Anybody else want a piece of that? You email me. Unfortunately,
Let me know.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
And thanks
No
so
news.
much, Mariah. It was
Good
great
show.
meeting you,
Yeah,
and love
great
what
to
you're
see you,
doing in
Mariah.
Ohio.
Thanks for having me on.
And
Gary
love it how
O'Connor, good to
your
see you.
organization spells sun.
And
All right.
if you can get those farmers to buy the windmills again, now that would be great. Get rid of that setback clause out of the Ohio code. We'll go wind power.
I don't know.
Working on it.
I don't know if you need to worry about that, because you need about 1,500 feet between each one of the windmills anyway.
Well, now that they're so big, it makes sense actually.
They block each other otherwise. They have to be
Yeah.
spaced out.
Myla,
Thanks, Ray.
I want
So
to
don't-
also thank Chris Sampson joining us from Ukraine, and
Yeah.
I hope he'll
Yeah, that was
come
very
back.
helpful.
I hope he'll come back regularly.
And for all of you who watched Outlander, like my wife and I did, Jamie, we'll miss you. Take care, everybody. No nukes.
Okay, good show, you guys. Appreciate
See you
it.
in
Bye-bye.
Solartopia
Thank
2
you.
weeks from now.
Thank
Okay?
you, Sonny Wasserman.
Enjoy your Memorial Day. Thank you, Mike Hirsch. See everybody. No nukes.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe, everybody.